Sherry Abden. The purpose of Committed to Miramar is to keep you in tune with what's happening in the city of Miramar, covering topics from healthcare, entertainment, employment, to education, politics, and much more. Tune in every Wednesday at 5 p.m. to Radio Unilatina USA. Use hashtag Committed to Miramar.
Hello, Miramarians. I'm Commissioner Darlene Riggs, Commissioner of the beautiful, beautiful city of Miramar. And I'm here with
Sherry Abden, her co-host.
Miramarians, we are so excited today because not only do we have one great, but we have two great and amazing guests. I am so excited. And it's all about our community. It's all about giving back to the community. It's all about how to get involved with the community. So I'm really, really excited. I cannot wait to introduce to you our very special guest. But you know, we are so diverse here in the beautiful city of Miramar. It's good to special guest here today. So I have the privilege of introducing Mr. Shipman to you, and my co-host has the pleasure of introducing Miss Maureen to you. So me first. Me first. So, and we have a couple of initiatives that we're doing together, and I'm looking forward to those initiatives. And again, they're all about the community. You'll see in a moment, Miramarians. But give me a minute to read our guest bio to you so you can see how impressive this young man is and how exciting what he's doing is. So, Mr. Ray Shipman, born and raised in South Florida. By the way, he's a Miramarian, grew up not too far from where I grew up. Right there, you're so special.
Born and raised Miramar.
Awesome. So born and raised in South Florida, here in the beautiful city of Miramar, Ray Shipman found the love of two sports at the age of 7 years old. I'm still trying to figure out what sport I should. He gained his determination and positive spirit from a supportive family, key by Ray Shipman Sr., who made it awesome. I love that. The sound very preppy.
With the Catholic high school.
Oh, goodness.
Before that, I was A.C. Perry Elementary and Perry Middle.
Me too. That's awesome. Okay. Where he was a two-sport athlete playing football and basketball. Oh, wow. While attending Monsignor Edward Pace High School, Shipman received many accolades, including 2 back-to-back state championship in basketball in 2007 and 2008. Awesome. Ray was also Florida's Dairy Farmers Mr. Basketball. Oh, I want to see those pictures, which is an award that is awarded every year to Florida's top high school basketball player. Ray also was the 2008 Gatorade Player of the Year. Oh, wow. Do you get free Gatorades? We could use some. After graduating from Pace in 2008, Shipman was awarded a full scholarship to play at one of the NCAA powerhouse basketball team, the University of Florida. Awesome. Shipman played for 2 years for the Gators. Ray was also excelled in the classroom. That's good. We have to talk about that because the children really, really need to know about that. Shipman credit his study habits and his knowledge of the importance of education to his success. Absolutely. Shipman began to change the way people perceive athletes when it comes to the education. In 2009, Shipman was named the SEC Scholar Athlete of the Year, only received by one player in UF history prior to Shipman. Awesome. Wow. After 2 years at the University of Florida, Shipman felt it was better that he parted ways and go back to his first love by transitioning from the court to the field. I knew that was coming. In 2011, Shipman received a scholarship to play football for George O'Leary and University of Central Florida Knights. Awesome, your Knight. After 2 seasons with the Knights, Shipman was signed by the New Orleans Saints in 2013 NFL Draft. Wow, we have to talk about that. I want to know what that was like. Shipman spent the entire preseason with the Saints before being waived after a hamstring injury. Oh, okay.
Back then it was bad. Now everything happens for a reason.
That's true. See, I love it here. And your bio says Ray never lost his momentum. Awesome in the game. 2 short months later, you rose to the challenge and began to get back healthy. Ray from being a professional athlete to a working professional. That we also need to talk about because I mention that to the children all the time. Shipman is also the founder of Championships Inc., a nonprofit organization dedicated to create will broaden the mindset of by providing advanced programming in education, professional development, and mentoring. Ray is now channeling his passion for sports the youth by his book, which is our special today we're going to talk about. His series of books will use athletics as a vehicle to stress the importance of education to young aspiring athletes. How impressive is your bio?
I'm sorry it was so long.
No, it's awesome. And there's so much we can talk about here because you're highlighting so much that I talk to the kids. I was sharing whenever I do career days, I always tell them there's something extremely important that I want to share with you, and I have them guess. And rarely do they guess that reading is a component to that. So we are going to talk about that. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay. I know the bio, I sent the long version. I thought I'd cut it down, but it speaks to my entire journey as a former athlete to why I am here today. I know when you spoke of the injury, it was pretty tough back then, but that ended my career. But I was able to fall back on my education, and I'm able to reach the lives of young athletes in the community from my experience. What I didn't mention in there, actually a full-time employee now with the Memorial Healthcare System. I'm the director of sports medicine.
Wow.
So it's great to show athletes there's life after sports. So like I mentioned, my life use it as a experience for kids to learn from, and then the platforms that Commissioner Riggs has offered today, I just want to get my message across to as many kids as I can.
You definitely have my support, and you are such a great example because I tell them that all the time. It's great to do the sports. Absolutely. I would never discourage that. My oldest is into football. My youngest, my middle son is into soccer. Okay. So I'm like, yeah, by all means, I will take you to the games. I will buy the cleats. I will do all of that, but have something else to fall back on.
Exactly.
Absolutely. So whether it be, accounting or sports medicine,
yeah, exactly.
But they have to have something to fall because we have to also be realistic. We really do. God willing, you make it far, an injury could end it. Or you might not have gotten drafted even having gone so far. I mean, we're talking millions.
And I try not to deter kids from their dreams when we speak statistics and being a realistic eye opener. To let them know, okay, make sure you have other options. You don't want to put all of your eggs in the one basket, because when I give the statistics of kids who make it to the professionals, there's less than 2% who make it pro in for football specifically. So just letting them know, don't let football use you, but use football as a tool. There's many opportunities. I was granted a full ride to college, full scholarship for my athletic abilities. That's an opportunity. Use that. You use it as a networker. When I walk into meetings today, people will see me. I know you play football. That kind of breaks the ice in the room. And we'll talk about sports. Sports is such a cultural sport that everyone loves and relationships. So making sure you take advantage of the entire sports spectrum and how it affects your life.
It's so true. You could be very upset with someone and then you find out that they love the same sport that
you're on the same page.
Before you know it, you thought you were best friends. Right. It's crazy how that happens. Right. So that is so true. It is such an icebreaker. So you have a couple degrees.
I do. I got my undergraduate in public health and communications at UCF. And after my career ended, I came back home and I started working at Memorial, and I furthered my career, my education, getting a master's in business administration from St. Thomas with a focus in sports administration. Wow. So sports has been my passion from a kid to now rehabilitation institute in a whole different industry, not so totally different industry, but the overall well-being.
That is so smart. So you were able to utilize, like you said, the sports to have a brighter future, because at the end of the day, you end up, turning things in a way, not really. You have a great future, which at the end of the day, that's what you were aiming for to begin with within the sports realm. That's awesome. I'm not your mom, but I'm very proud.
And I give all of my credit to my parents. They laid the foundation. My mom's been an educator. I told someone the other day, and she got mad at me. Well, she was an educator for quite some time now, because she said I told her age when I said how long she's been an educator. But she was an educator, and she laid the foundation. My dad just retired.
You cannot tell the age.
I won't.
Never.
But it was so funny. I told someone, I said, yeah, she's an educator for over 20 years. She's like, then they know how old I am. I'm like, no, Mom, you started very early.
You saved yourself there.
But my dad, he just retired from law enforcement, city of Miami. Wow. So everyone jokes when I was a kid, you can never get in trouble. Your mom's a teacher, your dad's a police officer. But no, they were most down-to-earth parents, and they were supportive at every game for my sister and I, and just being there, spending the time with us. And they said it's paid off, so they're very proud of us.
Wow. Yeah, we are too. My goodness. That's awesome. So with Memorial, what are your future plans past sports medicine? Do you plan on going any further?
I'm happy where I am now. I actually was recently promoted to the role I am now. I was formerly the manager of adaptive sports, working with the physically impaired community, where there be spinal cord injury patients, amputees, just using sports as overall community re-engagement activities for them. But since, what was that? In May of this year, I was promoted to director of sports medicine, where I work with our orthopedic sports medicine trained physicians for weekend warriors. We work with local universities, covering their team sideline coverage, whether it be necessary for surgery. We have orthopedic surgeons, but if it doesn't come to that, we have physicians who can treat some of the injuries that occur.
That's awesome. We're going to talk about it in a minute, but an idea just came to my mind. Do you plan on writing other books in reference to injuries in sports, where the children can understand at their level, 3rd and 4th grade level?
That's an idea. That's an idea.
I want kudos for that one.
You heard it here first.
Yes, you did.
You heard it here first.
Commissioner Riggs' idea. No, I think that's a great idea, because they don't foresee that. They don't foresee them ever getting hurt, because at that age, we think we're immortal. We think it can happen to everybody else but us. Exactly. So that is probably an avenue to get them to wake up and focus on the studies and focus on the reading.
Exactly.
So, write that down.
I like it.
Oh my goodness. Ray Shipman, awesome. Miramarians, stay tuned. We have to take a break. And when we come back, Miss Abden is going to introduce us to our next guest. And we're going to combine all of it, because remember, today's plan is about community outreach. And you see how Ray's giving back to his community after all the support from his parents in his community. So it's time to give back, and we'll show you how they're doing that and how you can do that as well. So Miramarians, stay tuned. I'm Commissioner Darlene Riggs. We'll be right back.
Unilatina International College with campus in Miramar, Florida, is a boutique college with focus on entrepreneurship. UIC offers associate and bachelor degree programs in business, tourism, and communications and media. Associate degree students develop their business plan while studying at UIC. Dream, learn, and grow. Join now our business incubator. Learn more at unilatina.edu or call 954-607-4344. Unilatina International College with campus in Miramar, Florida, is a boutique college with an applied, cutting-edge, holistic education model. Business, tourism, and communication students not only develop their field intellectual skills, but are also empowered to become holistic professionals and human beings through yoga, self-empowerment, holistic human development courses, and more. Sign up to become a holistic professional at unilatina.edu or call 954-607-4344.
Committed to Miramar, committed to our community. It's right here in Miramar.
Miramarians, welcome back to Committed to Miramar. I'm Commissioner Darlene Riggs, and we've been doing great getting to know Mr. Ray Shipman. What an amazing testimony you have. Amazing life, career support system. And I'm glad to see that you're giving back to the community. So we're going to tie back community outreach, but I want to now focus on our other very special guest, who is also a community leader. Miss Abden, take it away.
Well, first of all, I am blessed with Mr. Ray Shipman.
Oh, thank you.
You're not leaving without an autograph.
Oh.
Mine first.
But right now we have the amazing Maureen Kohler, who is a dear friend as well. Maureen has always been supporting our local military for the past 3 years. She has served as the chair of the Family Readiness Group for the National Guard Unit based right here in Miramar. And she is also a member of the Mission United Advisory Council. Her efforts have been recognized at the state and national level. She is an amazing person. So, Maureen, can you tell us a little about you? I already know how amazing you are.
So thank you so much for having me here. Yeah, I was not born and raised in Miramar.
You're not a Miramar.
But very active in the Miramar community.
Awesome.
I have a background in nonprofit management, which actually had me from a very young age, very engaged in the community, looking at different issues that affect, different populations. And I was fortunate enough to find that I had a passion for giving back to the community and also made it a career. So it's worked out, well for me, both professionally and personally. And now working with the local military, I found a passion that I really didn't even know existed until I got involved with them about 3 years ago.
Amazing. Now, Commissioner Hicks, you want to?
No, I have a few questions. I'm writing some questions down for you as you, because you know me, I always have a million questions. But go ahead.
What inspired you to get active with the military?
It's something that I have always been interested in. Of course, years ago, before 9/11, you could write to service members and you could just send it, to any service member. And I started doing that during Desert Storm. Mm-hmm. And it was interesting that actually some of them wrote back and we stayed in touch for several years. So it started back then. Getting involved here, it was honestly by chance that I met one of the first sergeants right before the unit was getting ready to deploy, and they were preparing for a holiday party so that the families could be together before their deployment. And I said, okay, I can help get some toys donated. And it ended up becoming a much bigger project, and things kept getting added. And, oh, sure, I'll help try to find food, and sure, we'll help, to get some donations. And it grew. And after that, was invited to serve as their Family Readiness Group chair, which was interesting to me. Once I met a lot of the family members, that also really compelled me, because there's a lot of attention that's given to the soldiers, as they're leaving and what they're going to be missing. But there's also the families, and, they're here left, to kind of keep things going. And once I met some of, the families and the kids and sort of felt their pain of what they were going through, it just really compelled me to stay involved and to keep things moving and be as supportive as I could. Not only obviously during the deployment, but, beyond. It was interesting as the soldiers came back, there were a lot of things that they needed to support coming back to their families and the reintegration. And sometimes I think people forget that, they're not deployed and there's not a homecoming, but they still need support. And there's a lot of support here locally with a lot of organizations. And I'm really glad to be part of that network.
Is that part of the National Guard Readiness Center here in Miramar? That you were doing that?
Yes. Yeah, that was actually based right here. There's 4 units that are out of this location here in Miramar. And, they, like when the Hurricane Irma came through last year, the Readiness Center was activated. The guardsmen were there. So it's not, just for training purposes. They're also a very active group. They're also giving back to the community too.
I think that was Haven Lake Estates that they went into and assisted the families there.
Right. Yeah. I mean, they were there ready, waiting for their orders, and they reached out and said, we're here, let us help. And they did. They went in and they helped with tree removals and to get some sheds rebuilt and really, want to be part of this community as well as, just having their center here.
How can we, the residents, get involved in supporting them locally?
There's a lot of things, especially this time of year coming up. We actually are doing, we want to give 500 veteran families a Thanksgiving basket. We have all the dried goods donated, so we're now looking for $20 public gift cards so that they can pick their protein. We thought about the turkeys, but some people may be vegetarians or want a ham, so we're asking for $20 Publix gift cards that we can give. We're also going to be hosting a holiday party for them coming up in November. So we're calling it a fall festival because it's too early to have Christmas in early November. So we're looking for donations of things that can be given out as door prizes, some, gifts for the children, any type of craft activity, things like that. So there's a lot of ways people can get involved, especially this time of the year.
Mr. Shipman's book.
Yes. That's our next topic. And, I'm proud to say that, first of all, we're talking about the National Guard, and they're right here in Miramar.
Yes, they are.
I had to plug that in because it's right here in Miramar. I am very proud. And, to Vizcaya about a year ago, actually right before Hurricane Irma. We were behind Somerset and Timberlake, and when we moved about 2 days before the hurricane, I didn't know that we shared the same grid, with the National Guard, so I didn't lose power, which was awesome. So that was one of the best moves we've ever made, because our old house lost power for about 2 weeks.
Oh, wow.
So thank you for being right here in Miramar. I appreciate that. So beautiful building, beautiful space. I'm glad to know and see that they're not just, in the city, but they're part of the city, part of the community, giving back. So I have so much respect, so much value for families, especially when, the spouse that's away is not home for the holiday. It's even harder. Thank you so much for what you do with our military family, to school event you did for the military families right before school started. And what an amazing event that was, giving the backpacks to the children and the supplies. And I love seeing things like that, because growing up in Miramar, we were extremely poor and we didn't have those support system back then. I don't remember anyone doing that, giving the turkeys and the book bags. And so now I'm honored to be a part of that. I'm honored to be able to do that so that I can offset a family, of having to go through that hardship. So our hats go off to you. Thank you so much for doing this. And to our military families, we love you. And those, to me, that's the least we could do. So thank you, Ms. Kohler, for being a part of our community and for doing such amazing events. We love it. Continue to do it. So we will be behind you, supporting you, so that you can continue to do what you do.
Yeah, it's important that we have the support of the community. And we've been really fortunate that several companies here in Miramar and community supporters have come out, and we wouldn't have been able to do what we do without the support of the community. So it's great that when you see people coming together, like the back to school event, there were a lot of people that were involved with that that made it happen. And that was part of the Building Healthy Military Communities initiative, which is looking throughout the state to how can we support our military, because there's not most military people do not live on bases anymore. So the Building Healthy Military Communities initiative is looking at how can we build a community that supports the military where they would normally, when they lived on a support, or they had the hospitals available. And so how can we now, as a community where these soldiers and military families are living, how can we come together? And we've been really, really lucky, not only in South Florida, but in Miramar with the support that we've gotten.
And that initiative will also change the community and the way folks think. Because for me, I have that mentality of I'm doing life with my community, with my neighbors, you don't have to be next door for us to be doing life together. You know, and when I think of Miramar, I think of, you know, Miramarians, all the people in Miramar. In my mind, to me, we're doing life together. So coming behind you and supporting you and spreading the word and, you know, donating gift cards, that's awesome. That's doing life together. And we need more of that so that we can become more loving community, because I believe that's how we were meant to be. And I think part of it, we've gotten so busy, you know, now in our era, like even when we got here, we're like, okay, we're coming from one thing to the other. And when we leave here, we're going to another thing. But I think it's important to take that few minutes out. And when we're at Walmart, when we're at Publix, wherever we are, get that $10 gift card. That's the other thing. We need to give folks information on how to reach you and get that those gift cards to you and those other donations that you're looking for. So we're going to make sure you get that information, Miramarians, so that you can connect with us and participate and donate, and sometimes just be educated. You know, you may not be able to support at the moment, but maybe next year, or you might know someone else who can. So I'm looking forward to myself supporting you and gathering everybody else that I can to jump on board with that. I have a couple more questions. Ms. Abden, you have questions? Because I can jump on board with mine. No, go ahead.
I wanted you to tell us a little bit about that award that you were recognized for, because it had to be explained to me. I was not knowledgeable about it, but I was very proud of you for receiving it.
So I was nominated and received the Volunteer of the Year from the National Guard nationally, Region 4, which covered 7 states. So basically, I was nominated for, you know, the work that I did with the National Guard, and there's 7 regions, and this was Region 4, which, like I said, was 7 states. So had to go through several different layers of, you know, the nomination process and the vetting.
You had to beat out a lot of people, I'm sure.
Well, I don't know how many there were, but for 7 states, I'm sure there was quite a few. So yeah, that was very, very exciting. And then also received the Florida Distinguished Service Medal, which was a real honor for me as well. It doesn't normally happen to a civilian, so I was very, very excited to get that.
Wow, we are very, very proud of you. See, one more question before we go on break. One of the things that usually cross my mind that must be very difficult for you with working with military families is when they go through deployment. I know you guys usually do a big thing, you know, east of here during that time. How difficult is that?
You know, interestingly, it's difficult. It's for somebody that does not come from a military family. I had no military background. I wasn't really sure what to expect. So part of what we did while the service members were deployed is we kept in touch with the family members. So we did family fun days. Let's say Flamingo Gardens would let military families come in for free. And we tried to keep people, you know, gathered together, have some connections going on. We also kept in touch really well when they were deployed, because I think it was Hurricane Matthew that came through, and we had about 1,000 soldiers that were deployed, and we called every single family member to make sure that they needed, you know, whatever they needed, you know, if they were out of power, where they could go, what support they could get, because, you know, the soldiers are deployed, they're not hearing from their family members, you know, we're here. And so it was a good, you know, maybe 3 days that we were back and forth before we hit everybody, because if you remember, it hit different parts of the states at different times. And even though the base is here in Miramar, we have soldiers that live throughout the state. So there were things like that that we did. There were, obviously, we sent care packages. You know, there were some special needs that the soldiers had over there that we made sure, you know, that they had. We also supported, we had 3 babies that were born. So it was fortunate that the soldiers were able to come home, but then as part of our group, we actually had baby blankets with the embroidered logo of the unit on it, and sent, you know, gift cards and the blankets, and, you know, again, just tried to be a part of their life so that there was a connection from the soldiers to the families. And then, of course, we had a huge celebration when they came home. But interestingly enough, there was a lot of challenges when they came back home. You know, there was a lot of, the National Guard getting reacclimated, finding jobs, which is a part of Mission United, who helps soldiers in transition. You know, a lot of these soldiers are young. They had apartments that they gave up, and all of a sudden they're back. And so where are they going to live? So a lot of people think of the deployment, as a challenge, which it was. But interestingly, again, to me, coming back for the first 6 months was really challenging.
Wow, amazing. So we thank you for your piece of the puzzle, for all that you do. We're very proud of our military families, and especially Miramarians. Please know that we are here to support you, and we're already putting things in place, just in case something does come. So we pray, nothing comes hurricane-wise, since you mentioned that. So to make it that the connection stays there. So Miramarians, stay tuned. I'm Commissioner Darlene Riggs. We'll be right back.
Can those babies?
Committed to Miramar. Live, work, and play. It's right here in Miramar.
Uni Latina International College, with a campus in Miramar, Florida, is a boutique college with an applied, cutting-edge holistic education model. Business, tourism, and communication students not only develop their field intellectual skills, but also are empowered to become holistic professionals through yoga, self-empowerment, Tai Chi courses, and more. Sign up to become a holistic professional at unilatina.edu or call 954-607-4344.
Committed to Miramar. Live, work, and play. It's right here in Miramar.
Hello, Miramarians. Welcome back to Committed to Miramar. I'm Commissioner Darlene Riggs. And if you were with us before we took the break, we were speaking with our very special guest, Miss Maureen Kohler. And right before that, we were with our author of No Grades, No Play, Balancing School and Sports, Mr. Ray Shipman. Now, this segment is all about the book. I'm so excited about the book. Like I said, I stress this to the kids, to my kids, to everybody's kids whom I encounter, and let them know education is key. Do the sports by all means. You're into soccer, football, basketball, baseball, whatever it may be. As a parent, I would support my child with whatever sport that they choose to play. Within that same token, please read your book. Please go do your homework. Please, that's priority. And then we will talk about the sport. Not a problem. Now, Ray, I see that your book is dedicated to Dentwan Bradshaw. Who's that?
It's a good friend of mine, my best friend, who actually passed away last year. Real close friend of mine. We grew up playing sports together. It was one of like I said, my best friend, and he was one of my biggest fans. I know he's smiling down, seeing his name on that book, and just making his day. So
awesome. And it's illustrated by David Campbell. And again, so I read through the book, and the message is so profound. And again, tell us a little bit about the story in the book, and then we'll talk some more.
It's a simple story. It's intended for readers on the reading level, kindergarten to third grade. It's basically a young athlete by the name of Jason, who's the best football player on this team.
And got in trouble with his mama.
Yeah, Jason just already has his mind up that he's going to go to the NFL, so he doesn't have to do his homework. So he doesn't, when homework comes up, he hides it under his bed. He doesn't tell his parents about his homework. And then it's time for the report cards. He brings home bad grades. His parents are aware of the bad grades, and they know how much Jason loves football, so they decide to hold him out from football.
Good idea.
They hold him out, and what happens? Jason's teams lose because Jason's the best player. Jason lets his team down, and that kind of was the aha moment for him. It hit him that, okay, I need to balance school and sports. Jason changes his act. Jason starts to study. Jason starts to go over his homework with his parents. Jason does everything he needs to do to be a good student. The second report card comes out. Jason improves dramatically. He's reinstated back to the football team. He saves the day. The next game he comes back, he has 5 touchdowns and the team wins. So like I said, it's a simple story, but the message it preaches is very valuable. And I wanted to make sure that I made the story simple, so young readers, like I mentioned, from grades kindergarten to third, will be able to comprehend and understand the story. And something different about the children's book, cause I did my research on different books similar to these. I have a character connection portion at the end of the book, where if you're reading it to your child or family friend or whatnot, there's questions that you can ask the child who just read the book to make sure they comprehend, to make sure they understand the message. And when I'm doing the readings at some of the different elementary schools, actually me and Commissioner Ricks are getting ready to go to A.C. Perry in November, I ask these questions at the end of the book amongst the students to make sure they comprehend the book. So that's the message. And it's, like I said, a simple message, and it's very dear to my heart, the message.
Now, you know I have questions. Okay, so I'm guessing you can relate to Jason.
I can.
Is that you? Did you get in trouble with your mama?
No. To tell you the truth, I had a lot of friends. Like my best friend. He was one of the best athletes. His grades weren't always up to par. But Jason is everyone. Jason is that young athlete who may be playing soccer. He's the gymnastics. He's the cheerleader who has an extracurricular activity that they're putting so much of their energy in. So Jason's story applies to so many young kids today. So it's just making sure they have that balance. I encourage parents to put their kids in their extracurricular activities because you can learn so much from this that can translate over to school, to working well with others. So after school, now you're employed. To talk to different employers all the time on the benefits of hiring former athletes, and to have them understand that a lot of former athletes don't have work experience per se, but they have intangible skills that they've learned from being a part of a team that can translate over to corporate America.
Absolutely.
So it's just using sports as a vehicle to succeed.
Awesome. You know, something you mentioned that sparked something in my mind in reference to what sports does for the children. The behavior is such a key component. It gets them to behave properly because they want to play so badly that they'll do the right thing.
Exactly.
And it also teaches them how to be a good loser sometimes. Yes. And my kids are learning that you don't win every game every time.
Work hard too, though.
Yes, you work hard too. And sometimes when they lose, they don't know how to handle that.
Exactly.
So being part of sport and experiencing that, my goodness, because I'm thinking of my kids when I'm saying this to you. Even we were playing a family game the other night. My 9-year-old has a hard time losing. He's the perfectionist. Yes, he's the one that, you know, he's the extremely intelligent one, the one that corrects me. He was losing and he didn't know how to handle that. So I took the opportunity to teach him, yes, do your best, absolutely, but you're not going to win every time.
Exactly.
So I think playing sports teaches them that better than anything else. Because they will experience that. You know what else crossed my mind? So your future books, one of them have to be about cheerleading because I have a 5-year-old little girl.
My wife, she's a former cheerleader. She was a cheerleader, Miramar Optimist, by the way.
Awesome. Okay, Michaela just met Miramar Optimist cheerleader, and she was floored. She's been begging me to take her forever now. So finally, when they did the homecoming game, I took her, and she was, you know, I put it on social media. She was just so loving it. Loving it.
She has the right one.
So you've got to get together with her.
I've challenged her.
And my goodness, you can borrow Michaela. She'll tell you what she wants to see in the book. So I'm reading some like, you're probably going to do one on basketball. You're probably going to do one on different sports. But please make sure there's one on cheerleading.
I didn't know what I was getting myself into, but it's a passion of mine. Like you mentioned, I get this all the time. What's the next book? What's the next project?
Yes.
But it's a passion of mine. I'm always looking to, exactly.
So I'm looking forward to our book read. Our first one is at Annabelle Perry, November 9th, right? At 8 a.m.
8 a.m. We were there.
8 a.m. is so early, no?
I found that out this morning.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to that. So this will be 3rd grade and 4th grade.
It will be.
3rd and 4th grade. Okay, so
the books going to be the same age, or will you?
So what encouraged me to do this book was when me and my wife gave birth to our first son. And he's 1 right now.
Oh, wow. Congratulations.
Thank you. He's growing every day. I think I want to grow with him, grow the books with him. As he gets older, start to the different stages in life that he's at, have different characters who he can relate to. So,
is he walking?
He's running.
Okay.
Everything.
So, because I'm thinking the developmental stage with the walking and running, you may want to do something geared towards safety because you probably have to move everything from the bottom cabinet to the, and then the purses can't be in. The other day, my 3-year-old, I have a 3-year-old, he comes, his mouth just chewing. I'm like, what's in your mouth, gum? Where did you get the gum?
I'm so sorry to cut you off. You have a 3-year-old, a 9-year-old and a
5-year-old and a 14-year-old.
You're super one. Oh my gosh. I'm here going crazy with one and she's doing all this.
Total pro. As a matter of fact, it's so funny. When I was pregnant with Daniel, I was supposed to be induced. I got induced with all the children because I planned my life and I had class in 2 weeks. So I said, listen, you need to come out on this date because in 2 weeks I'm teaching a class. So
it all makes sense now. It all makes sense. It's all added up.
Not to mention campaigning.
That's what I don't know how.
Oh my goodness. I love it though. I function better. The busier I am, the more I function.
I'm the exact same way.
I love it. I can't complain.
If I don't have anything to do, I'm nervous. I'm like,
yes, and we get in trouble.
Exactly.
So we have to stay busy. But with Daniel, he came to me mouthful of gum. I said, where did you get this gum? Your purse. He cannot even say the word, but he got it from my purse.
Oh,
so
man.
you need to tell your wife to move the purse.
Right. Oh, that's too funny. That's too funny.
You know, when I teach, as I do nursing classes with nursing students, when I teach them, I tell them, you know, with young ones, you have to do that. You have to move the purse because they end up taking your antihypertensive and you need more antihypertensive medication because they took your medication.
Oh, man.
Yeah, they're special. So you have a lot to look forward to.
So
yeah.
Right. My hands are full. That's funny.
Oh my goodness gracious. But that's such a fun age though. And I think that's a great idea for you to gear the books towards the developmental stage. And I'm sure you'll have more and you're going to have your hands full. But you know, I love the big family. I grew up with a big family and I have 4 kids. Like I said, the other night we had game night. And there's 6 of us in the family. So it was a lot of fun. We were playing that game where you blindfold one person, they stick their hand out, somebody slaps their hand and they have to guess who it is, who slapped their hands. So the blindfold was a little bit see-through. So somebody suggested that we turn off the light. My oldest son had the blindfold. So Daniel, the 3-year-old, turned off the light. And the moment he turned off the light, everybody ran and hit Michael. Poor Michael. And I kept hitting him several times. Everybody, he was like, oh, just getting hit. We had so much fun. We were laughing. There were tears. And we were playing another card game. I went to slap the card. My husband went to slap the card and I broke a nail. I was bleeding. So we had tears. We had blood. We had laughter.
Family nights are brutal.
Yes, it was so. We had so much fun. You have to have a big family. It's awesome. It really is. Okay, back to the book. We got so deviated.
No, I want to hear more game stories.
Oh my goodness, my family nights. Okay. Before we go for a break, so with the beginning of the book, I see that Jason was very talented, very fast, and very quick. Now, some things that I've seen in the past, the children who have, you know, all this talent, sometimes they tend to think that they're in a different realm. Do you think maybe you'll ever channel that? For example, I don't want to use the word conceited, but they think they're, you know, I think that might be a good idea for another book too.
And that was a big thing my parents made sure of me because I was like, even sitting here hearing you read my bio, I get uncomfortable. I'm
like that too.
It makes me cringe because I know there are some individuals who kind of soak in that and that goes with their ego, but just being humble, being that athlete, being that leader.
That's your next book. Too. I want kudos on the humbleness.
You have to be humble. You have to be a people person. And I tell athletes who are done playing that reach back into that community of fans who you had when you were playing. And these can be the people to help you. If you don't make it and you're looking for a job, there are fans who watched your entire career. And if you were the right athlete and that right character, these people want to help you. So make sure you reach back and always
don't forget where you come from.
Exactly. Being humble.
So I'm glad you have that. And we can tell the moment we meet you, we can tell you're very humble. So think about another book channeling that aspect of it because it's important because you don't want the children growing up thinking they're better than others, even though they're talented, you know, and that's something that I'm always keeping in my perspective too. And I think some of us, it's just not in us. I don't see myself being, you know, thinking like that. Sometimes people, I'll call somebody back. They're like, oh, I didn't think you'd be the one calling me. Why not?
Right, exactly.
You called me and you left a message. I'm calling you back. They're like, but you're Commissioner Riggs. I'm like, it doesn't matter.
Exactly.
You know, how may I help you? So I have, and to me, my role too, I'm in a serving position. In my mind, I work for 140,000 people, and I may not be able to help everybody all the time, but I will surely try to help the next person, the next person, the next person. So it's very important to keep that perspective and keep our children humble, because some of them are extremely talented, but that doesn't make you better than another individual. So I'm glad that's your next book.
We have 2 books coming up.
Poor things. We're writing these as we go along. So Miramarians, we have to go for a break, but stay tuned. I'm Commissioner Darlene Riggs. We're here with some very, very special guests. So we'll be right back. I have a few more questions in reference to the book, and we'll tie this up with the community aspect and how you can get involved. Again, I'm Commissioner Darlene Riggs. We'll be right back.
Committed to Miramar, live, work, and play. It's right here in Miramar.
Uni Latina International College offers an English as a second language program for international students. UIC's high qualified ESL teachers help students and pleasure. Our ESL program also focuses on cultural adaptation through fun-filled trips and cultural experiences. Start your journey today at unilatina.edu/ESL or call 954-607-4344.
Committed to Miramar, committed to our community. It's right here in Miramar.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Miramarians, welcome back. I'm Commissioner Darlene Riggs, Commissioner of the beautiful, beautiful city of Miramar. And we are here with Ray Shipman and Maureen Kohler. And today's message is about community involvement. So we left off talking about being humbled, talking about giving back to your community. And Ray, I love what you said about, for the children as they grow and get better and get into their careers, to remember, pretty much their foundation. And that way, when they get to a certain position, they give back to the community. I cannot stress to you how important it is to give back. And I'm kind of living that, because I was molded and shaped by Miramarians, being here since I was 9 years old. So a lot of the people in the community, they raised me. My brother still lives where I grew up. He owns that house. I've lived across from Miramar High at Foxcroft, owned the condo there. I've lived behind Ember Lake when I had my first kids, and then the house got too small, because now you know how many kids I have. So I had to get a bigger house. So I've never left Miramar, and I love it. So again, these are the folks who helped me, and now look how the full circle is here. I'm able to help and give back to my community, and I absolutely love it. Another example that came back to my mind about giving back, and I've shared this on Committed to Miramar in the past, is with Dan Marino. I was able to do my nursing career and finish my nursing career because of the Dan Marino scholarship.
Oh, wow.
So I applied and won his scholarship twice. And a few months ago, I had the privilege of meeting him and took a picture with him and my 2 sons. And it was so funny. When I met him, I was talking so fast because I didn't know how long I had. If somebody was going to snatch me and say, you can't talk to Dan Marino for that long. So I was like, okay, I'm a nursing student. I got your scholarship. I was going on and on because I really didn't know how long I had to talk to him.
Tell you to slow down.
Right? He was like, "Oh, that's great." That he was just kept knocking. I don't know if he heard anything next time because I was talking so fast. But I love that circle came, because I never thought I would get to meet him and say thank you, because you never know, if it wasn't for his scholarship, I might not have been able to finish. I have my bachelor's, my master's in nursing, and all because of people giving back.
Exactly.
So you're giving back in such a tremendous way and educating our students and writing this book. And that's time, that's effort, that's money, that's everything. So we thank you for doing that. And I am honored that you asked me to partner with you in this book read.
I've always watched from afar, and I have good discernment on people's person, and I've always felt the energy.
Thank you. Thank you. I love it. So a little bit more about Jason before we run out of time. What I loved, there's a section where his mom, okay, which page was that?
Tell me. I know I've done a lot of readings. What
The mom was in the kitchen.
It was the beginning of the book.
At the beginning? Okay. So now what I love to see, Even in the illustration, the drawing, I see he has like this healthy fear of mom. I love that. I caught up on that. That's very important because, I want my kids to, know that I'm down to earth. I can play with them. I can push them in the pool. And, at the same time I say something, I want you to listen, when it's time to listen, because we tell them to do things that we don't want them to get hurt. So there's a time for everything. I love, the illustration here. So who's your illustrator?
A guy by the name of David Campbell.
He did a great job.
Great illustrator.
I'll say.
And I believe he's so talented. And this is like one of his, I think maybe his third children's book. But I'm hoping that this can open more doors for him as well, because he was great with putting all of my vision to life with this here. So
that's great. I mean, I caught that in his face that, okay, I need to listen to mom. Like there's a healthy fear there.
Exactly. And that's my mom.
I was about to say that's from real life right there.
It is. She was an educator. Mom said his homework done. Homework needed to be done.
Exactly. Same thing with me. I tell my kids, we have to prioritize. I don't mind playing around, goofing around, but there's a time and a place. And my 9-year-old the other day, I caught him using a calculator, and he wasn't supposed to be using a calculator. But you know what? He's the perfectionist one. So I hope they're not listening. So with him, he finished. He's a grade ahead. So he's done with his work the semester, and he asked me to get him these Lego sets. He builds. He's a builder. So I had already ordered it from Amazon. So I said, I'm holding on to that until you learn all these timetables. So that was his punishment for using the calculator. Wow. But he's like, okay, mom. But I have such good kids. Thank God. Yeah, they have that healthy fear. That's what I like to call it.
Appreciate it the older he gets. Same with me. I appreciate everything my parents did. Like back then, I'm like, come on, mom. Can I just go out and play? My grades are better than all the other kids on the block.
Jason.
Yeah, exactly.
With my kids, for example, even Kayla was on the phone with someone, and I had them on speaker, and she goes, I love you, mama. And they heard that, and they were like, oh my God, that's so sweet. So I have that love, but at the same time, they know when I say get it done, get it done. Exactly. And what I tell my kids? You may not like it now, but you'll thank me later.
Exactly.
Yeah. And sure enough, they do. Even I used to teach 4th and 5th grade. Oh, wow. And I remember, it's so funny. I went to Miramar Elementary and ended up teaching at Miramar Elementary in the future. I did everything in Miramar.
I didn't know that.
So I remember the 5th graders, because I was tough. I really was. When they give me craziness, I said, listen, this is garbage. Do it over again. So during the school year, I thought they hated me. At the end of the school year, you were my best teacher. I love you. Thank you so much for making me do that. You think but they do love it because it makes them a better person. It makes them a better individual. I used to do ESOL. I used to teach ESOL. I remember this one young lady, I did the same thing to her that the librarian did to me many years ago, where she said, read. So, every time I said, you need to read. I ran into her about a year later. My goodness, this was a young lady who did not speak any English, nothing. And she was like, Mrs. Riggs, oh my God, you told me to read. So I read it. And she just kept talking and talking. I was like, oh my goodness, you have to be quiet now. Like, I think you did that a little too well. So, and they don't even notice when they're reading, the impact that it has on them then it's not noticeable, but it does. Yeah, it does. Exactly. I was introduced to Sweet Valley High and the Babysitters Club early on, and I read those series and I kept going back. I think that was like the jump start to me speaking English and proper English and, being able to read and write and communicate. So children out there who are listening, please read.
Read.
Yes, read. There's, my goodness, with the library, free library cards. And my goodness, with technology now, there's no excuse.
None.
So children, please listen to Mr. Ray Shipman over here, who's been through it. And remember, from the beginning with your bio, my goodness, what different worlds you've had the opportunity to live. How different is your sports world versus your professional world?
It's different, but similar in many aspects. Like I mentioned earlier in the podcast, what I've learned from sports, I use in my everyday working life now, whether it's time management. With football, I had to manage 6 a.m. workouts and then going to class and then study hall after that. Gosh. So waking up and going to work and not having to run suicides. We call them suicides or gas that we run. I'm like, now that was hard. I can go sit behind the computer and do work any time of the day. Working well with others. I was a captain. I was voted a captain amongst my peers. So same thing right now, being a director, working with my staff and knowing that I can lead the ship without just taking full demand in all of my ideas. Working with my staff, learning and each one of them individually and what pushes them and what gets them going. And that's all from what I learned from playing sports. So it's similar. And I learned so much. So I transfer as much as I can, but they both defer. But I really don't try to get too focused and overwhelmed with the difference and just look at the similarities.
Awesome. So for me too, I use my nursing in the political realm. Yeah, there's so much I know about nursing that I use, in government, in championing for my community. So yeah, they do have some similarities and some differences too. Before we run out of time, there's one more thing I noticed in the book that I wanted to point out that I love now. So Jason, the part where he couldn't play, why make him watch?
Oh, you have to. That's a valuable lesson.
I thought that was epic.
Yeah.
So that's torturing the poor child.
Because it isn't just Jason. He's letting his teammates down. And he needed to see the reaction that it caused to not only himself, but his teammates.
So you made that poor boy watch the entire game and can't play.
No, so now I let myself down, my parents down, and my peers. These are my friends. Yeah. My friends are.
But see, as a parent, I'm hurting for him. I'm like, oh my God. But sometimes we have to let them go through that because it makes them stronger. It makes them a little bit more responsible every time they experience something like that. So I was thinking, and your illustrator did such an amazing job. I feel for Jason. I really do. But, as parents, I'm like, oh, poor thing. He's suffering.
Better now at this age than later on in life.
That's true.
He doesn't go through these, and now he's working at an employer. Jason doesn't feel like he's held accountable for anything because he's never been through one of those experiences.
That's true. And I tell my kids, I say, better you cry than I cry. Yeah, it's so true because they're crying for that tiny little boo-boo, but if we're crying, something major has happened. Is to check out the book, and I know you and Jason have a lot in common, Ray.
We all do. We all have so much in common.
Yeah, I can relate to Jason, and especially if you have kids, parents, grab this book for your children. Ray, I want you to do me a favor. Let everyone know how to get the book, how to get a hold of you, just all of your contact information.
So if you're interested in learning more about the book, whether it be purchasing or any other endeavors that we do, speaking engagements at some of the elementary schools, you can log on to our website at www.nogradesnoplay.com. And it's the same social media channel for Facebook, No Grades, No Play, as well as Instagram, No Grades, No Play. So as I mentioned, if it's any endeavors, I'm doing different public speaking to elementary schools. We're distributing a mass amount of books to the elementary schools along with signings. So please stay engaged with us on our social media handles.
Looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to our book read also November 9th at Annabelle Perry. And Miss Kohler, you have a few things you're collecting for our military family, so they can drop those because I'm part of that initiative. They can always drop it off to City Hall, my office, or they can call 954-602-3152. And are you doing the toy collection too, or it's too early?
Well, we will be doing a toy collection. The party is actually the beginning of November. So so we're doing both the toy collection and the Publix gift cards at the same time.
Awesome. Yeah, the toy drives are important, and it's never really too early to start, honestly. If you go to the stores now, we're already decorating for everything. I think now we're doing it all at once.
We do.
So we've got Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas all together. I think I saw some Christmas stuff at Walmart in June. I was like, really? Wow. So folks, don't think it's too early. Bring your toys. So I'm looking forward to what we're doing for the children too. And I'm hoping we can do several book reads throughout the elementary schools. So again, if you have any questions in reference to the book reads, please reach out to us. You know my number, 954-602-3152. And again, No Grades, No Play, Balancing School and Sports. Mr. Ray Shipman, thank you so much for being our special guest.
I appreciate it so much.
Miss Kohler, it's always a pleasure. And we love you and your military families.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Our pleasure. Miramarians, you know how to reach us, and we're looking forward to speaking to you again next week. I'm Commissioner Darlene Riggs, and you were listening to Committed to Miramar.
Committed to Miramar is a weekly radio talk show hosted by Commissioner Darlene Riggs and longtime Miramarian Sherry Abden. The purpose of Committed to Miramar is to keep you in tune with what's happening in the beautiful city of Miramar, covering topics from healthcare, entertainment, employment, to education, politics, and much more. Tune in every Wednesday at 5 p.m. to Radio Union Latina USA. Use hashtag Committed to Miramar.